our topic of the week, there's been a lot of talk about Bungie in 2025 and especially their Destiny 2 game we play. And the topic is based on a little bit of past discussions we've had on this podcast and also, but applying it to like 2025. And Kingsley and we've had a talk about this as we're playing the Act 3 story. In fact, last night we were discussing a lot of this stuff, and we're kind of going to share all our takes on this. The topic is how Bungie can fix Destiny 2 and bring players back, but before it's too late. Because the biggest fear I have is the player counts keep plummeting. They keep plummeting. And eventually, out of sight, out of mind, right? If people aren't plugged into Destiny 2, there's no reason to play Destiny 2 anymore. Bungie isn't getting your eyes at least for an hour a week or something. Then the worst thing that can happen to Bungie in Destiny 2 is it becomes irrelevant. No one talks about it anymore. So that's my biggest fear. And that's why this topic really kind of struck home with me. And I have a lot of takes here. Some of them are greatest hits that I've talked about in the past, and some of them might be kind of a new, fresh look at stuff. So, you want to start, Kingsley, or do you want me to start and get started with it?
I'll probably start because mine's like quicker in a way.
Mine's drawn out.
I'm not.
But you can bounce off a lot of my ideas. I'm curious.
Mine just doesn't make sense too, because it's not happening, at least not anytime soon.
Yeah.
But I've said this a little bit about in the past, and I'll say it again, that first of all, I don't think there's going to be any short to medium term way to get a lot of people back. I predict when Frontiers comes out, we'll get a bump, but it won't be even half as much as we've gotten for Final Shape. And then a month or so later, numbers are going to go low again, unless unless something crazy happens. But that being said, what I wish could have happened that they started doing a while ago was Final Shape comes out. That's it. Now, I know money people said we got to sell a year pass, but like, I don't know, there's still ways you could sell Final Shape for a little bit higher price, have some deluxe edition and things like that give you stuff that's kind of like a season, but not really. But then the point is that they stop production there because what we've been getting hasn't been great. So I would have preferred them to stop production there, start working on something new, whether that is put everything into Frontiers, but I prefer a Destiny 3. And the reason why is because when we talk about things that can be better, I always see them as little patches on the game. That's never good enough. This game has been here for 10 years. And listen, the people that are newer into the game say like, what are you talking about? There's tons to do. Yeah, I get that. But that's just for you. If you look at the overall numbers, we are still really low. So most players are either longer term players or they're still getting through it just as fast and getting bored. So I think what a new game would do and why they can't just put stuff into Frontiers is it would be all new stuff, nothing past, like no old types of missions or portal systems or things like that, and all new systems. Some of these gun things can only really be fixed in a new game. These are things that I've had in my mind, but I haven't been able to put together in words that are coherent. But Astrocross gave a good example of like how Path of Exile does things and stuff with loot and a lot of other games. And this isn't new. Diablo's been doing it forever, which Path of Exile is a kind of a semi-clone of that game, where imagine you're doing some story mission or strike or GM or whatever. Right now, we kind of just have this thing where we play activities and we get loot at the end, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's not really the best system. A better system would be you can even be shooting some acolyte off to the side, or more roguelike things where, we're playing, and this would help too, so people don't run through strikes so fast.
Mm-hmm.
But some extra little bosses come out that are different each time, randomly somewhere in the strike. And you hit that little semi-boss down, and a bunch of cool loot drops. And I would want to have a system where they actually say the name too, so you can see it. It's not just an engram that you pick up or something.
Right.
And all that loot drops. And then you can even have it be where what some games do is you don't get to activate or keep that loot until you complete the activity, right?
Good point.
Otherwise, people might, if they get something really good,
They just don't bail.
they'll dip out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is such a big change, even though it's a simple idea, that I don't see a way that they could build that into the current game because it would break older stuff. Let's say Frontiers, they implement the system in, but then they basically can't have older activities work that same way because it would break things where there are certain activities where they really just depend on getting the loot only at the end, or you would be too powerful if you got something earlier on in the thing, or slow things down if it's like a timed thing or whatever. Like it may sound loosey goosey to you right now, but trust me, like it would be such a big change that it really can't be done unless you have a new game. And that's just one example of changing systems to make the game different. I think it's been played out. I These ideas can be added in to Frontiers, kind of, but I just don't know how much of a difference it's going to make. I would have preferred that they stopped again at Final Shape and then worked on TV shows or movies for like 3 to 5 years. Think about that. Like they come out with something really cool. They're like Final Shape ending, and then right when we all take down the witness and the raid is passed, they're like, Sony announces
Oh,
Destiny TV show coming out
wow.
later this year,
Boy, if they could only
right?
think that far in advance, that
Yeah,
would have been
and then
brilliant.
they're like, and by the way, we're putting all hands on deck and on to the next project. So we're gonna have a couple seasons of Destiny for 3 to 5 years on TV, and then there's gonna be a cool new Destiny game in the future. We're working on it. But the problem is that, and we know this isn't happening, but also DMG confirmed it in a tweet a few
Yeah.
days ago. People have been talking about what's going on in Destiny 1. There's these rumors, what's going on with Destiny 3. And he just basically answered both of those questions with a very short tweet. We know this is to be true, but it really just confirmed it again. All we're committed on and working on for any time in the future is Destiny 2. So even me saying this, I know it's not going to happen, but I wish it would have happened. And I feel like we're going to be in a situation where they should have been doing this yesterday. And if Frontiers isn't hot either, people are going to be really in pitchforks saying, how come we're not working on a Destiny 3? And I'm like, I told you they should have been working on it 2 years ago. Like, it's going to be too late if Frontiers isn't good. And then we're just behind another year. Um, okay. Now let me be, if that's not a negative or anything,
Mhm.
that's just what I want to happen, what I wish would have happened.
Right.
What they can do for Destiny 2 in the meantime is just continue work on Frontiers where they have, but Frontiers is done, but I don't know how good it's going to be, but find more and more ways to have newer systems for working with rewards and newer systems for working with changeable things. We know the solo op will be somewhat changeable, so that's good news.
Mhm.
But let's have changeable things in strikes, changeable things in, probably not raids, but I was just saying that, changeable things in missions, changeable things out in the world. So I have no reason to patrol just for bounties, but if I was hearing that in the world on patrol, there's like these random enemies again that pop up, they can just start with that.
Mhm.
That could drop some really cool loot. Hey, I'm going to be on patrol way more often now to hit up these enemies, and have it be part of some cool RNG drop that is only related to these random enemies that are on patrol, and you get different perks with other random drops on it. It's going to keep people keep coming back and playing that over and over. So that's kind of an idea I have
Okay.
of maybe what they can do in the meantime. Hopefully that's kind of answering your
No, it
question.
was
I
good. It
know
was
you're gonna have a
well
lot of
done.
different answers, things you said before, but mine,
Yeah.
I just really had to kind of step back and
Yeah.
say, I wish we could have been working on a Destiny 3 at this point. I realize we aren't, and I'm kind of sad about it because I still think a whole new game is the direction we should have been in,
Yeah.
and it's already too late.
So Kingsley took the nuclear option.
Hmm.
I was going to ask you that question too. I was going to say, do you really think that Bungie should have just zip black screen right after Final Shape and just pieced out? And man, if they could have tied in a even just a live action series or something. I remember Planet. Do you guys remember Planet Side? What's that?
A year later.
Say it again.
Sorry. Or even say something's coming soon to the show,
Yeah.
like 6 months or a year later or
Yeah.
something like
We have
that.
something to look forward to, right? because it's going to take time to make a Destiny 3, at least 3 or 4 years. That's being very aggressive.
I'd say 3 to 5 years. Yeah.
Because their team isn't what it used to be. And I have lots of thoughts, but I want to comment on some of your stuff.
Of course.
Now I know they did say with Frontiers, they did make new systems where they were going to have more ads based on player movements and a lot of little subtle things that we don't have now. Like
so
you
that's
mentioned,
just in solo ops
yeah.
so far.
Oh, okay.
Just there.
Okay.
And it sounds good, but that's like a 5% fix of the things I'm asking for.
I agree. I just want to mention that because they did. I remember hearing those developer updates that they did mention that they changed a few systems in that. As far as now, if they could drop random loot. I mean, if I play a lot of patrols because I'm usually farming Glimmer. I'm probably doing a lot of different things. I'm stacking bounties. I'm getting my enhancement cores from doing my weapon bounties every day, which I sadly haven't done lately. All at the same time, there's always a high value target that roams around about every 15 to 20 minutes. Easy to kill, always drops a chest. But sometimes I'll open that chest and I'll get like Glimmer and a little XP. And I'm like, wow, that was fun. Thanks, Bungie. What if you opened it up one time and boom, a freaking even a exotic Ingram comes pouring out of it, and you got to rush to the town to see, rush to the you could even make it mysterious where you have to bring it to the Cryptarch and say, look, Cryptarch, what I got here? What do I get with this? You get a blue. No, just kidding. Not Destiny 1. But you know what I'm saying? Have something exciting, have it. What if, I might have a chance, even if it's 1 in 80 chance of getting an exotic or something that I don't have on a knockout list that I don't have. I love I
agree on that too.
Yeah.
That's what was going on on Nessus, that public event where you could have a knockoff list on the exotics. And that was a brilliant system. And you're right. Even if they brought it into patrol, some kind of like, I would have to say it'd be a much less chance if we're just talking patrols. But and Steel Zealot kind of says similar things, but like in the chat, but give us reason to do patrols in different locations. But yeah, like what you're saying too, Gator, like have something, if it is going to be an exotic, maybe a really small chance it drops, but if it does drop,
that's why we play the game. People love RNG. There you go. There's your RNG. That was a good point. I want to point that out because that is something good that, like you said, that Astrocross talked about in Path of Exile 3 is you can hit a grub over here, just a little minor enemy, and it can drop something really great that you've been looking for. That just knowing that could possibly happen. I know when I run my route on patrols, usually Cosmodrome, I know exactly what I'm going to get. There's no surprise. There's no, oh, look what I got here. And say I get a legendary gauntlet or a legendary weapon, it's usually something lame. It's like the world loot. The world loot just is, it's okay. Probably for newer players, it's probably exciting, but they don't really have anything for us longtime players to surprise us, But, Steel Zealot says Neomuna has terminal overload, but it's dead unless you have another reason to go there. Like, give us something to do. I totally agree. So that ties in with Kingsley's point there. Good points, man. I had one of my points was to make a Destiny 3. I called it the nuclear option because it's pretty much Bungie has to press the big red button and restart because this is a 10-year-old game. I mean, it's a 10-year-old going on 11-year-old game. And I don't know about you, but
getting old.
This is the longest video game I've ever played. And I've played a lot of Call of Duty in my time. And I've played more Destiny than I have Call of Duty. And that's saying a lot because I was really hooked on Call of Duty for a long time. I have a little different take. Maybe probably a little more shilly and probably more proactive than probably what you're talking about. But ever since they mentioned that they're shifting their DLC to the 2 medium-sized expansions with Frontiers, with Apollo and Behemoth RNG, I think there's things they can do this summer and even rolling up into before the Frontiers to kind of just improve morale of the player base and the community. That's what we need, man. We need some morale. We need a reason to jump in and play the game. First, Bungie needs to look to new players of the game. Yes, it is a free-to-play game, but it doesn't take long to realize that in order to get all the good stuff in the game, They got to buy expansions and maybe even dungeon keys if they want to run dungeons with the community. If you're not, if you're a veteran player like I am, it's really tough to explain what to start out with and what direction to take. We had a new player jump in our Discord community just last week, and they seemed really eager to dive into the game. They were asking all kinds of questions. The community was awesome. They jumped in and tried to tell him or her what to do first. And I was not surprised, like I said, our awesome community wanted to chime in and help them and give them tips and stuff, but it can just be so overwhelming to a new player getting all that advice. They probably don't even know what half the terms mean, or the characters or the names of the guns or whatever. So I just reiterated to them to just take your time, explore all the worlds, and just enjoy the game. And I don't feel I probably didn't really help them out, but I think I'm going to recycle some ideas that I talked about years ago. I think they should make all expansions except for Final Shape free for all new players. Get rid of the stupid dungeon keys. They may have been profitable back when dungeons first came out, but that content's old now, guys. And Bungie really needs to think about growing their player base. This is what World of Warcraft has done. Why doesn't Destiny 2 do this? The latest and greatest stuff, yes, you have to pay for it. Yes, you have to get a dungeon key, but have it fall off after a year. Have it free to everybody. I have alt accounts where I'll go to and want to run a dungeon with the community, and I can't because I never bought the full expansion because it's all account tied now. And I couldn't jump into the dungeon because I didn't have the dungeon key. And I'll be damned if I was going to spend a dungeon key of $15 on a dungeon key just to be able to play with my friends. I'll just go back to my other account that has all the stuff unlocked. But I've mentioned this before in past shows years ago, and I think it's time to mention it again. I think Destiny 2 needs to go to subscription model. Instead of monetizing every little damn thing in Eververse, event cards, catch-up weapon packs, it just makes sense for Bungie to create a monthly cash flow for their studio instead of nickel and diming the very player base they're trying to hold on to. Keep Eververse in the game to offer cool cosmetics, make it all earnable in-game with Bright Dust, or make it exchangeable to buy more Bright Dust with currency that we've earned playing the game. In other words, 10 enhancement prisms will buy you 1,000 Bright Dust, which would mean farming other materials to earn those enhancement prisms, right? It makes us play the game, makes us play more Nightfalls and stuff that gives us those prisms. This creates a reason to play and grind the game. And award Bright Dust for subscribers liberally by playing anything in the game. Put it in the season pass bars more frequently. Open up the game like Warframe does. Everything in Warframe is earnable if players want to put in the time. And Aster Cross has been putting a lot of Warframe videos out lately. He's been jumping into it and he goes, I can't believe this is free to play. But we're not talking about free to play. We're talking about a subscription model. Believe me, my whole business.
WoW.
Yes. WoW's been doing it forever and they've been out longer than Bungie has. I mean, with Destiny, so believe me, I know about bringing recurring income in. I run a route-based business. I run a repeat business, and I can usually forecast my income models because I know my clients. I know when they're due, and God forbid a hurricane hits or something that puts it off. I can forecast what my income is going to be based on my, let's just say, my player base. So even if Bungie only had 11,000 players concurrent playing on Steam right now, that's 11,000 people that are paying a monthly fee to play the game. It just makes sense. It just makes sense. World of Warcraft, they did this because they didn't want to nickel and dime everyone who tried to jump in. They wanted to make it as friendly as possible for people to jump into their worlds and discover everything that the people that have been there forever have discovered already. But have subscribers unlock everything. Season pass, all activities, and just charge for Final Shape, because that's the latest expansion. Now, once there's another expansion out, then I think Final Shape should fall right back into the subscription model because they made their money. The pre-orders, they made their money, and they're discounting the hell out of everything already right now. Why are they worried about a measly $12.99 when they can get reoccurring monthly income from people who really want to play the game but don't want to feel like they're nickel and dimed while they're playing it? It just makes perfect sense to me. I mentioned this 2 or 3 years ago when Hazel was on the show, and he was very skeptical about it, but I think it's time. I think it's time to bring it. I think it's time to do it.
You want me to talk about that point now or later?
Oh,
I
I want to hear your input.
I've talked about it too, I feel like, and maybe it was on Guardian Hub, but I agree actually, because the thing about the subscription model will solve a couple other problems too.
Yeah.
They will have to make more content with a subscription model, and they'll be able to grow their studio with more employees too. There won't be the excuse of money anymore, because subscription models will make them a fair amount of money for
They can
sure.
put budgets together. They can do forecast budgets because they know they have guaranteed income coming in. Let's just base it on a minimum amount of players that they know will stay with the game, right?
Yeah.
So, well,
Yeah, and of course it has
Yeah.
to be a good price. Like Steel Zealot says, well, if the prices go up, I mean, yeah, of course. Well, prices go up even with the DLC sometimes year after year.
sure.
You can't have it too high. We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
I don't know what would be a good amount. Maybe like these days I would say kind of like between a 10 to 15 a month would probably be max.
I was thinking $12 a month. I
Yeah.
think that's what World of Warcraft is, about 12 to 15, I think, a month to jump in.
Yeah.
I haven't looked in a while.
Yeah, and I know people aren't going to like it, but I do, just on your point, Gator, I do agree that that would solve some problems.
Yeah.
I forgot about that, so I'm glad you brought it up.
I've
And
been beating
the
this
hard
drum for a
thing would
while.
be, how would they start it though? I mean, maybe they could start with Frontier. They'd have to
Frontiers.
start it in a
Fresh
way
start.
where, yeah, but they'd have to start in a way where they already have a lot of stuff going, or else it won't be worth people paying the subscription. You know.
What if they gave an option? What if they said, listen, for the people who've been playing this game, who want to just jump in and play the new stuff, then I don't know, $100 for the year, like they've always done, right? Yeah. Or I mean, it's kind of the model that everybody uses now, including Game Pass. Pay the $15 a month or the $10 a month, and you can play all these games. It's all open to you, but expansions and other stuff that's brand new, you'll have to pay for that out of your pocket. I think Bungie just needs to open it all up. I mean, open it all up. Just they're already scraping the bottom of the barrel trying to get anybody to pay $5 for Shadowkeep right now. Come on, man, just unlock it all under a subscription. You have the subscription model. You've already earned your income on whatever. You've already earned the majority of your income from all the past expansions you've released. Why Bungie hangs on to these like they're going to bring them some great money in? Just open a subscription model, open up the floodgates, and let people dive in and play anything they want. Because what's the one thing the new player says? What's the first thing I should buy? Because I'm looking at Steam here, and it's $300 worth of stuff here. I don't even know what to even start with, guys.
So the hardest thing, and again, Steele talks about this some more, and what I'm thinking too is the hardest thing will be how to start it, because once it's going, then they'll have the money to have more employees and build more content.
Yep.
But right now, I don't think anyone would think it's worth paying a subscription model for what we have. And if they were to bring back all the old stuff, they do need at least a little more staff to kind of develop that. So it's going to be really hard to start it, I feel like, unless there is some magical other secret studio that's kind of working on this, that's helping them out. But if they can start it and there's enough content that will make people think it's worth it to pay for that subscription model, then I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, the chat's exploding here. They got all kinds of things. They're saying here, Steel Zealot was, did they even improve the new player experience? I'll get to that point next. HD Tech, honestly, my drive to play a game is community. If it wasn't for GDC, I probably wouldn't still not be playing the game right now, for the community. And that is my reason I still do weekly events. And Zombie Pop says, they really aren't even making any money off that stuff anymore. Exactly my point. Steel Zealot, same tech. I'm a huge story mode type player, hence Assassin's Creed and Halo. I love Final Shape because it was linear. Now I have to play with y'all. What's that supposed to mean, Steel Zealot? Never mind. I won't take that the wrong way. But he says, with their subscription model, when does capitalism grab hold and rates go up? Would this start current day or or with the new launch? Here's the thing. Can you imagine? Let's just do a little what if, okay? Let's put our tinfoil hats on. Frontier launches, and instead of $99.99 to buy the expansion, it says join now for $12.99 a month. You can play all of the new content and all of the old content. You can play anything you want. No more dungeon keys.
Lots of bright dust. You're getting all these extra collectibles.
Yep. You can go to Eververse, and when you go to Eververse, you're like, oh, look at that ship. I've been wanting them to make a ship like that. And then you look, and it's 1,000 silver. Come on, man. Tell me what I got to do to earn that ship. If you tell me that it's 1,000 silver, which is $10, why not just say, listen, it's 10,000 bright dust. But here's the thing. 10,000 bright dust doesn't mean much when you're dismantling all of those stupid ghosts you get with every bright engram past level 100, right? You get the same stupid ghost ship projection. Who uses, does anybody use projections? All this stuff that you don't want, you used to be able to dismantle it and they would give you some little bit of glimmer, but they would give you bright dust in return for stuff that you don't want. You don't want to store it. You don't care about it. If you want to pull it out of collections, then it will cost you bright dust to pull it back out, or glimmer, or whatever way they decide they want to do. But here's the thing. You have to make an exchange like Spider had. So if you really want to motivate people to play this game more, and they're earning all these other currencies in the game, which they have to use to, to upgrade their weapons and upgrade their armor and stuff, have it where you can actually straight up trade that stuff out for bright dust to go run to Eververse and get that ship that you've been looking at and you're worried it's going to go away. Get rid of all the silver prices. Just make it all bright dust.
I'm even thinking with the subscription model, you would obviously get some base bright dust per month also for doing nothing. That would also make the subscription model worth it, because you're right. And then have it just be bright dust. Well, I don't know. I feel like they'd be stupid if they don't have some things you can still buy quicker.
I was just going to say that.
The whales,
I was just going to say that you can have like a featured armor set that the artist really took time to make, like the Halloween event, right? The festival of loss we're voting on. Have that be $15 because the event's free. That's the way they can pay for the event. Get rid of these event cards, these $10 event cards. I mean, you're actually getting a lot for $10 if you really break it down. You're getting emotes, ghost, usually a new sparrow or a ship, all included for like $10. It's a really good deal, but people don't see it that way. They see it as they got to put $10 out to play this stupid event that they're already halfway thinking about already. Make the event free. And then if you want this cool looking armor, then it's 15 or 1,500 silver per character. That's where they can get the whales, and they can have featured stuff that they release every month that stays there all month, and that the whales can go and buy all they want. But if you don't have a player base to play your game, Bungie, how do you expect them to shill out $15 for a game they might not even be playing in a year? The reason I've ever spent silver at Eververse is because I know I can show that ship off to friends of mine when I go play a raid or something with them. So that's what drives me to buy this stuff, these cosmetic items, no pay to win, nothing like that. But open up the game, Bungie, open up the game, get rid of all the silver costs, get rid of all the dungeon keys, get rid of everything except the latest DLC. If they want to play that, they have to pay for it. And you can even give that a discounted rate. But the thing is Bungie tries to do both things. They're trying to offer a free-to-play game to get you invested in the game. But then once you get invested in the game and you're ready to move on to other places, then they hit you with all these expansion costs. And if you want the catch-up pack, if you want all these crucial exotics, it's $15. I saw that on PlayStation today. I was like, you kidding me? Anyway, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but this is something I've said in previous shows. And I think more than ever, Bungie's back's up against the wall here. I think they need to start thinking about things a little differently here. Another option, like I said, was the big red button. Make a Destiny 3, go black, go dark for 3 to 5 years. And, it is what it is, But what about the vault problem? I've mentioned this before as well. And I don't know, I'm not a programmer. I don't know how extensive this would be. Make everything craftable. For all those RNG fans out there saying that weapon crafting has ruined Destiny 2, you're also playing, hoping for those RNG drops of weapon frames, right? Isn't that RNG as well? What's the difference? I play the season to unlock a perk that gives me a free weapon frame every week, but it takes 5 weeks to get that one frame if I did nothing. So it motivates me to play the set activity of the weapon I want to craft until more weapon frames dropped, whether through the activity or my free one every week from the vendor of that season or whatever. And that's just one weapon. There are hundreds of weapons in this game. hundreds of weapons in my vault that I would love to get rid of all the duplicates of the weapon. If you were to let everything be crafted weapon wise, it would free up all the problem with these stuffed vaults with all these different rolls of different weapons. I've said this in the past, as soon as I craft a weapon, the first thing I do is get rid of every one of those copies and it's usually 6 to 8 vault spaces right there, just from one crafted weapon. So make everything craftable. And if you guys out there who want the RNG and the enhanceable weapons, the ones you can put enhanceable perks on, what happens when you've been playing 50 lost sectors and you never got that roll or even the exotic that you want to drop? Remember those days? That's RNG, baby. So what I think Bungie needs to do in Destiny 2, because there's so much competing for our time these days. It's not 2014 anymore when Destiny was the hot shit. There's a lot of games that have caught up and are just as good as Destiny 2 now. You have to respect the player's time. You have to give people a path that if they want to grind for a weapon, they don't have to keep pulling the slot machine, which is pretty much what RNG is. You're pulling the slot machine. You're hoping for that dopamine hit. You're hoping for that dopamine hit. And when you never get it, you get discouraged and you quit playing the game. But if they said, hey, you want that weapon? Here's the path you got to take. You got to do these steps. You got to get this many frames, and then you can go craft it and make the weapon whatever you want it to be. And not even another thing I wanted to mention here was Bungie just mentioned it tonight. In Heresy, they're going to severely change the PvP sandbox. So what happens if that great hot shit roll that you got RNG wise all of a sudden got nerfed to the ground next season or the next episode? What are you going to do now? I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to the crafting table and I'm going to craft the other perks that I know will work better than the ones they nerfed. It gives you so much flexibility when you craft a weapon. I mean, what is the ultimate thing that all players want to do in Destiny or any game? They want to jump in and kick ass and have fun, whether it's PvP or PvE. So Bungie, let us do that. Let everything be craftable in the game. All the weapons be craftable. They're already having a new, they're already revamping the armor sets, right? With all kinds of new perks and chances for stuff to drop on better versions of they were talking about the certain tiers of armor and stuff. I think that's a good move for the future of armor. But once everyone right now has the armors that works for them, they're just swapping out the ornaments. There's no reason to go get more armor. There isn't really. But if I know that I need 5 weapon frames to unlock all the options for a given weapon, and let's not forget all the cost and in-game currency or time if you want to get kills to raise the level with the weapon levels to upgrade the crafted weapon to unlock all the possible rolls. That's what I want to use in PvP and PvE. That's how that grind is very different than the usual RNG grind. It fixes 80% of the vault problem. And like I said, if the sandbox changes drastically, you can go back to the drawing board and switch out your perks on your weapon just like that. And there's a cost to it. It's not free, but there's a cost to doing it. That was my second point. I have one more point, but do you have any comments on the weapon crafting? I'm sure you do.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think the weapon crafting thing has anything to do with population. I think it's more just opinion, and people like to play different ways.
Really?
If you've looked, they've had it both ways in the last 6 months, and it keeps going down no matter what, the population. So I just don't think weapon crafting or RNG has anything to do with population, unfortunately.
One of the reasons why I've played a lot less Revenant than I did Echoes. Echoes had those craftable weapons, and they had those frames that I could get every week. I would always bring me back to come back and get that free frame and then go play some of the activities in that seasonal activity to hope that I get another red bar to drop somewhere along the line. And if they were to craft everything that we have in our catalog of weapons right now, that pretty much everybody has stuffed in their vault, it would take me 6 to 8 months just to craft them all. And even the grinders out there that play hours and hours a week would still take a lot of time to unlock all those weapons and to do that. So
That's just you. And if you look at the
Yep,
graphs,
that's very true. That's
it's
me.
not like episode was constant at this level when it
Yeah,
had weapon crafting, and then now Revenant is at this level
yeah,
constant. No, it's been going down the whole time.
yeah,
So if your logic about people coming back for weapon crafting doesn't make sense, because it was still going down week
yeah.
after week after week, even in that episode.
My point on that is I had a path. I had weapons that I liked in the season, and I had a path to unlock them and make them my own. And that's what I've always loved. And I was the one who cried about to have weapon crafting before they offered it. I was the one that cried every week that they need to make a weapon that you can create that is your weapon. That's your set of perks and gun magazine perks and whatever fits to your style of play. That's anyway. So that's the reason why. And I know there's people out there say, new content should never be craftable. Why? We have to wait for RNG anyway to get the weapon frames. What is that? How is that any different than getting that god roll to fall as well? How's it any different?
Yeah, so the weapon frames actually haven't been RNG since you keep bringing up that point. Remember, they would let you get a guaranteed one every week when you come back.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But they spread it out over 5 weeks. If you did nothing, it's going to take 5 weeks per weapon. Yeah, that isn't RNG. No, that's a path.
Even RNG people don't like that. That's not RNG.
But here's the thing. To unlock that perk that allows me the free weapon, the free weapon frame every week, I had to play the game to unlock it, and it was usually far down the bar. I would finally get that red bar. That's what I'm saying. It encourages me to play to get to that point. That's kind of a reward.
People are dropping off.
Well, maybe so, but
that's why I still think it's just your opinion, and I'm not saying it's a bad opinion. I just wonder if it really has anything to do with population.
It's just the kind of player I am. I guess maybe it's my Call of Duty roots where I'm used to grinding every weapon in zombies to get all the attachments unlocked on it. So it's finally mine. I have my camo on it and everything. People have played this game for 20 years and they still use the same method to unlock their weapons. And if it hasn't worked, they would have ditched it a long time ago, but they still use the same method in Call of Duty and it still works today. Just saying.
In other games, RNG still works today, and Destiny started as an RNG game.
Yeah.
I actually prefer it that way.
You can still have both. Why not have both? Why can't you have it where you can actually get a god roll to drop too when you play those activities? You can always have that as well, but the crafting is the fallback. It's the way that if you played the hell out of this activity, the seasonal activity, and you just haven't gotten the drop you want, but you're slowly along collecting your frames, that's your insurance. And then you're moving on to the next gun.
Brand new ones. They have to be out for a little bit to be the fallback. Even Bungie said that when they're going to do crafting going forward, it won't be the latest season stuff. It'll be like the previous stuff.
You know what? I'm even fine with that as long as they start unlocking more regular guns that can be craftable. And they started doing that for a while and then they just fell off. Everyone was complaining how they don't want crafted, and crafting is ruining the game. It's not ruining the game. It's creating gameplay. You're creating, I know you're different. You're more of a discoverability guy. I'm more of a, tell me what I got to do. Tell me where I got to go get it. And I'll get my weapon. And then I'm going to go jump in PvP and Crucible and use it. That's just my mindset. And I realize I'm not every player out there. And there's probably 8 different varieties of players out there. But for me, all I can tell you is what would get me to play the game more. And that's what. Now,
do you think it's the majority of people? Because again, the population numbers are going down no matter what.
Well, now I will mention that they don't have craftable weapons this season versus last season. So I don't know if that's contributing to it or not. I don't know.
Oh, but you can't use that argument because I already said, even in last episode, if there was the argument that people didn't like how it was this season, then you would have seen a full high number last season and then a drop this season. But it was already going down last episode.
That's because everyone. That's because everyone thought Final Shape was it, and Bungie didn't take advantage of that moment with like you said. Having a
weapons have to do with it.
Yeah, with having a TV show or something coming out to keep people interested, that they missed their opportunity there. But anyway, that's what would get me playing the game more, knowing that I can unlock more craftable weapons in the game because I love
play the game a lot.
I love having a vault full of those little craftable little emblems at the top where I know I can do whatever I want with that weapon. So, and as they add more perks, it unlocks them in the weapon crafting department too.
Yeah.
So, we're going to agree to disagree on that part, but here's the
You
last.
still play the game a lot anyways. So
I
don't
do.
know that
I
it
do.
really
Well,
make
I mean, I'm a Destiny shill. Everybody knows. But
Yeah.
here's the thing they got to do, though. My third point, my third prong of them getting people to come back and play Destiny. They got to bring Red Boar back. They got to make a proper beginning story to Destiny 2 for new players. For most new players, they've told me that in the past that jumping into Destiny 2 feels like they opened up a 600-page book, turned to page 364, and jumped in. There's no context. There's no explanation for anyone to get started. And that opening catch-up video is horrendous. Sorry. I played the New Light campaign myself, and it was brutal. Even someone who knew everything going in, that video was still pretty hard to watch. And it was just like they put fast forward on everything. And people are like, oh, wait a minute. Well, but yeah, he died, but who is he? What is he? You know, there's no explanation to the video. It's just like, hey, here's what happens. Here's what happens. Here's what happens. Here's what happens. All right. Now you're in the future. Now you're in current time. Go have fun. And people are like, what? So there's a ton of new player videos out there trying to play this game. And I know I'm beating a dead horse on that because I've heard that so many times from all kinds of creators out there. But I'll tell you what, man, I plan to use this time before the Frontiers launches in June. I got a 10-year backlog of games that I've never played because the pool of Destiny was so strong. I will, of course, play all the new content that they release, but until then, these episodes are just really not doing it for me. And I'm really hoping that the third episode really slaps. I really do. I really want it to. And what they've been talking about, you know, I remember even when I saw the armor that they're releasing in that, it looks like pilot armor for the Dreadnought. It looked really cool. It looked really good. Got me excited. And typically Destiny, when they're rolling into new content, usually that last season, or I don't even know what to call it anymore, episode, usually is pretty hot. They usually save all the good stuff for that last episode or that last season going into the new content. So that's my hope. That's my hope. It really is.
I predicted Heresy will be
Think so?
the best of the three also, but I'm just not sure it's going to be that much better, but it'll be better.
I mean, I don't get me wrong. I still have a lot of stuff I got to do in the Pale Heart. I took a break in July to jump into the episodes and just try to avoid being burned out because there was so much to do in the Pale Heart when I first played the game. It's been my plan all of last year, but now I have some catch up to do in the Pale Heart. I got to work on my other two characters. I got to get more dungeon and raid runs in, and I got to keep playing Crucible with my friends. That's going to be the extent of my activities in Destiny 2, aside from Heresy going forward, or the bento box event that they're going to have. You know, I'll jump in and at least see what that's about. But that to me,
get some raids, some Wednesday night raids.
I think I'm ready to get jumping back in. I'm ready to jump back in and start playing some raids again. I'm really rusty, man. It's been a while since I've played even just the latest Salvation's Edge raid with Technical and his crew. So, you know, we'll have to see what Bungie does going forward, but hopefully by the time they make changes, it won't be too late to retain the people who love this game, who love the, you know, and to capture more new players who's never experienced the joy of a raid or wandering these beautiful worlds that got me tied in back in 2013. It's what took me for 10 years ago. And it's that Destiny magic I think can happen for new players too.